What's the big fuss of not having strata title to your property? Can a management corporation be formed without strata title? How is the government closing the floodgate of developers not applying for strata title? This episode is going to tell you exactly why strata titles are important. A strata title is one of the title structure of ownership and control over property. It usually applied to subdivided buildings or complexes such as high-rise building, townhouses, duplexes, flats, apartments, condominiums, and commercial buildings. Now, this form of title gives individual ownership over the property they occupy, while the land and the common property are controlled by the management corporation, in short MC. The structure of strata titles designates the MC as the owner of the land, which enable parcel owners to have more control over the spaces they occupy. The MC is also responsible for matters involving legal obligations in its dealings. Now, for owners, the MC generally takes responsibility for the maintenance of the common area, insurance, and or as an informal mediator among residents. Unfortunately, many residents and owners in Malaysia have not reached the stage where MC can be formed because of delays in obtaining strata titles. In fact, this is not uncommon. That many buyers of this type of property are not even aware of the need for strata title. Why are strata titles important? The National House Buyers Association (HBA) strongly advises house buyers to keep, and preserve the strata titles to the residential unit for the following reasons. One, is an ultimate proof of your property ownership. For example, when you say you own a car, you have the registration card to prove it. And there's no need for you to get the consent of the car maker when you need to refinance or sell the car.
This is my house. Bought and paid for it.
Secondly, as a dealing instrument for instances of charging to a bank for loans. Thirdly, you need not obtain the consent of the developer, land proprietor, or liquidator who may impose administrative charges of between 1% to 3% as their consent fee or verification charges, or by whatever name they call it, and when you should decide to sell your property. To form an MC by owners of the subdivided building to maintain and manage the building and to have their own bylaws, usage, or restriction. In the interim period, of course, JMB, a joint management body, do have a say in the way that the building is managed or maintained and controlled over the monies collected for maintenance charges, sinking fund, etc., etc., etc. Now, strata schemes are meant for owners to take charge of the maintenance and management of common property. That being so, due care must be given to expedite the transfer of titles to owners for them to start learning the process. Hiya! The newly minted the Strata Management Act 2013, Akta 757, Act 757, and its regulations help to give detailed guideline on the process from before transition, from developers, during transition, to the actual running of the MC. But this Strata Management Act, SMA, is for another episode. It is also act as the final proof of the built-up area of your unit and ultimately your apportionment of the share in the total aggregate units. As long as strata titles have not been transferred, the land and the common property are still owned by the developer. Should the developer company go under liquidation or become insolvent before strata titles have been obtained, the unit owners will have to go through a lot of trouble.
We're in trouble.
Or might eventually have to pay for the application of strata titles themselves and having to deal with private liquidators. Now, we got to think about how to close the floodgate. That's the important thing. There's been numerous cases of distressful consequences experienced by property owner when the developer deliberately failed, neglected, or refused to apply for and transfer strata titles to purchaser, even when the purchaser have paid in full. Finally, I have to tell you, the government has heeded the recommendation of HBA to close the floodgates and resolve this issue. It was so serious enough for the government to enact new statutory provision, amend existing ambiguous law to plug those loopholes, and to repeal redundant section of the Act to achieve this much needed transformation. Now, to protect house buyers, the concept of vacant possession simultaneously with strata title was adopted under new improved version of the statutory sale and purchase agreement under Schedule H, which has been implemented since the 1st of June 2015. Developers now cannot deliver vacant possession and claim 17.5% progress payment as in item 3 of the schedule of payment in an SPA contract unless strata title have been issued. Furthermore, the developer cannot claim the next 2.5% progress payment unless the duly executed instrument of transfer together with the original issue document of title is delivered to the purchaser or to the purchaser's solicitor. Developer have to pay compensation, mind you, calculated at the rate of 10% per annum for delays in vacant possession before the stipulated period of 36 months if the strata title has not been issued. Purchaser can now be confident of getting the strata title as the developer's land surveyor and architect have to certify on the schedule or parcel that the building, the land, can be subdivided before any signing of the sale and purchase agreement, and strata title must be issued before VP, vacant possession. However, notwithstanding the above safeguard, if the separate strata titles to the parcel are not issued for any reason not attributed to the developer, for instance, delays at the land office level, then the developer may apply to the controller of housing for a certificate in writing to deliver VP, vacant possession, without the issuance of strata titles being available. Now, with the mushrooming of a high-rise building, vertical strata, and gated guarded housing, horizontal strata title, it is inevitable that our country moves towards this improved comprehensive regime to better govern the fundamental need of modern society, owning a home, forming communities, and living in the shared environment. The changes will, in a certain extent, address the inadequacy and shortcoming faced by the old strata law and provide adequate protection to purchasers without being shortchanged. There are several questions on my laptop screen, but I shall take two of the best questions. Dr. Chang, I took vacant possession after receiving my developer's notice, but the VP didn't come with strata title. Instead, I received a letter from Jabatan Perumahan Negara (JPN) signed by the Controller of Housing that the developers are allowed to deliver VP to me without the strata title. Is this correct? JPN, Jabatan Perumahan Negara, is a department under the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. Look at clause 28 with the heading strata titles not issued yet. Like I said earlier, this clause allows your housing developer to deliver VP to you to shift in and stay, since the delay may be attributed by the land office or circumstances beyond the developer's control. You will notice in the JPN certificate or letter that a time frame is given to your developer to fulfill the issuance of strata title. Some certificate stroke letter grants the developer between 4 months to 12 months from the date of issuance of Certificate of Completion and Compliance (CCC) to fulfill their part of the sale and purchase agreement. You should KIV the deadline imposed by JPN. Now, upon expiry of the deadline, you should write to your developer and or the Controller of Housing for an update. Beyond such date, the developer is liable to pay compensation for late delivery to the buyers. You could visit Ministry of Housing's website at www.kpkt.gov.my, or you can lodge a complaint over to the Controller of Housing via the website. My second question is, Dr. Chang, my housing developer has been wound up prior to delivery of strata titles to all the owners of my condominium. It is now under the care of a private liquidators, namely XXXX. XXX denoting, I think, obscenity. The liquidators demanded that the owners pay them 2% of the current value of the property of 10,000 ringgit for effecting the transfer of the strata title to us. We have complained to the Ministry of Housing, but to no avail. What should we do? Well, wow, this is another area that I wish to comprehensively elaborate to the listeners, but it's too lengthy to explain here. I've written 2 articles, in fact, on this issue that have been annoying me. It's titled, Victims of Runaway Developer Face Double Woes from Exploitative Liquidators. The second article they've written, Liquidators Making Fortune from Home Buyers' Misfortune. You can surf the internet, key in these magic words. These articles were popped up. Okay? I wish the listeners would surf those articles in the internet to understand better and comprehend the exploitative issues. Thank you for the excellent questions. My next talk will be on be wary of private liquidators making fortune from home buyers' misfortune for all property owners whose property developer company have been defunct. See you in the next episode. Stay safe, stay healthy.